Geordie Journo's back here at the Newcastle United Media Centre, or Whitley Park if you like, overlooking the pitch where Newcastle under-21s are playing later tonight. So yes, we've been speaking to Eddie Howe ahead of Saturday's Premier League match against Fulham, at Fulham, at Craven Cottage. And yeah, Jordan, Eddie had plenty to say, various things. Injuries is always a big talking point, but I think that's possibly where to start.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest talking point. Obviously, we're going to come on to other things, but I think best place to start. Injuries. Isak, Wilson's the big one.
Yeah, the question on everyone's lips going in was, Alexander Isak, is he fit?
Yes.
We didn't really get that answer, but
No.
then your head turns. If Isak isn't fit, what's Callum Wilson?
Where's Callum Wilson? Yeah. So Isak, as I don't know if we'll call it on the video yesterday, but I've been calling this ever since I've seen the story about Isak's injury, that Eddie Howe was not going to confirm today whether Isak would be involved or not. He was always going to leave it wide open. So yeah, he said there's a combination of both the eye injury where the ball sort of grazed his eye, described it as strange, and then there was also a problem with his toe, both sustained in the latter stages of the first half, hence why he came out at half time. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he's involved.
Yeah,
I suspect he probably will be in some capacity, but then we'll come on to obviously who will probably start, which everyone can probably guess that, but we'll come on to that. But the person that won't start won't be Callum Wilson, because he's going to be out until after the October international break, and we were counting it in there. That's just over 3 months since he sustained the injury. The third week of July, I think the week went to Germany, which was the 15th to the 20th of July. Callum Wilson sustained a back injury.
Yes.
Well, we'll come on that. A back injury in that week. Hasn't been seen since, or hasn't played since, hasn't trained since, been spotted in the gym and all kinds of things, but it's no closer to returning. So I asked Eddie Howe, why is it taking Callum Wilson so long to recover, and he started talking about
a hamstring injury, which got my alarm bells ringing. I was like,
hamstring?
Mouth open, ready to turn my mic on, but fortunately you followed it up.
I can't follow these things up at times, I'm actually listening, but yeah, hamstring injury, my ears pricked up straight away. So the follow-up question to that was like, hamstring injury? Is it not his back?
You even said back, didn't you? You went back. I mean, sorry, you just said hamstring.
Yeah. But yeah, and Eddie Howe says that the two are connected, so it wasn't. He didn't say that Callum Wilson recovered from his back injury and then picked up a hamstring injury. He said the two were connected, which
it feels strange, because the initial prognosis for the back injury was he'll be back early in the season, maybe miss the first 2 games, and as we know with Callum Wilson, missing a couple games is never missing a couple games. It's always a good few games. It's always weeks turn into months, turn into several months, as this has turned out. So yeah, it was a strange one. So your back is connected to everything, in it really. So
I suppose, yeah, but it bamboozled me.
Yeah, it bamboozled me too
when he said that. But yeah, long story short, Callum Wilson is no closer at returning, and we can go into the frustrations of that. We did that in last night's video.
Liam definitely did. It is beyond a joke in many ways, but it's you feel for Callum Wilson and his frustration, but it's up to the club, it's up to Eddie Howe to really assess his squad and go, right, is our second choice striker, or is our striker unit as a whole fit for purpose? And I think Liam alluded to in our last video, check that out, it went up last night, so still be ticking away this morning as we're recording this. So yeah, I think that striker situation has to be assessed, because Alexander Isak is not a guaranteed starter week after week because of his fitness situation as well. Like, he's never been a player since he's arrived at Newcastle that has managed to get runs of 20 games plus in a row. He's always broke down with something, in last season it was a recurring, was it a thigh issue?
Thigh, so thigh or groin, one of the two.
Yeah, groin. It was a thigh, was his initial injury, I think, after he joined the club. Yeah. So yeah, he's had his problems as well. So you've got two injury-prone strikers, and Callum Wilson, I think this season, put a stat out. Callum Wilson will not thank me for this, and I apologise, Callum, for highlighting this, but it's a stat. He's played something like 260 minutes out of a possible 3,400 minutes in 2024, which for a professional footballer who is in and around the first team and will be expecting to play most games if fit, whether that be starting or off the bench, is just nowhere near what Newcastle need.
How many games does that accumulate to? Because I can think about 4 games on the top of my head where he's played this year.
He started at Forest, where he
and
got
then
injured,
had that pectoral muscle
and he
injury.
started Burnley.
Burnley was his first game back. He come off the bench against Sheffield United as well.
Yeah.
So that's 3. And then he was injured and then came on against Brentford.
Yes.
So he's played 4 Premier League games in 2024.
He might have played against Luton as well, maybe.
Right, okay. Anyway, it's certainly not double figures anyway.
No, and that's just getting on the pitch. He played about 6 minutes at Brentford, so it's
Yeah.
not like he's absolutely running himself ragged. And Callum Wilson, you feel for him, but a situation which I guess we'll get onto, like where you've got a player who's going to be 33 this season, out of contract in the summer. He's played since he's arrived at the club. No one can doubt his quality. I sound like a broken record here. When he's been on the pitch, he has been excellent. History will reflect
second all-time Premier League goal
quite
scorer
kindly
for
on Callum Wilson in terms of what he's produced on the pitch. But history will also remember the injury problems.
He's got Newcastle a point, hasn't he? I think Liam called us yesterday. Don't know if it was on the video or off the video, but he served the purpose because he came in and scored the goals out and he kept Newcastle in the Premier League. And when Newcastle have tried to make that next step, Callum Wilson in many ways hasn't came with them because his body has let them down, and that's where I feel for Callum Wilson. He'll not want to be injured. He'll know the reaction every time Eddie Howe gives an update and it's Callum Wilson's nowhere near fit, and he'll see the reaction online. It won't be nice for him. Mentally for him it'll be challenging.
He uses it as fuel though, Callum Wilson, doesn't he?
He uses fuel for 3 or 4 games until he picks up or not.
He likes to prove people wrong, and I've got no doubt he will when he gets back fit.
Yeah.
But you need players available, and that's a key strength.
Availability
that's Anthony Gordon said it. That's the best ability. Availability.
There's no point having quality players in your squad when they don't bring themselves to the pitch.
Yeah.
So like, you've got a player, a group of 25 senior players, whatever, including a 25-man squad, and obviously you've got your youngsters on top of that as well. And then you name Callum Wilson in a squad where, you might come on and score goals for 2 or 3 games before getting injured again, but that's not really a squad member, is it? That's in many ways, I'm not going to say it's wasting this place in your squad, but you'd want someone to take up that place in the squad who's going to be fit and available for most games, and who can be there and be relied upon when an Alexander Isak needs to come out of the team and needs a break. And Callum Wilson hasn't been there for Isak very often. I think in terms of the two being fit together, I'd imagine that's probably a low number,
It's towards the back end of the season they came fourth,
yeah.
And that's how it works so effectively. Isak I think he finished the season on about 10 goals. Wilson had his best scoring season ever in the Premier League, so it goes to show when they're both fit how effective they can be, but it just hasn't happened basically since then. Yeah,
and then as you mentioned there, the contract situation, I think you were trying to come on to.
Yes, just because Callum Wilson's out of contract in the summer, and Eddie Howe because there's been a lot of talk on Sean Longstaff's contract situation. Does he get offered a new deal? And look, in terms of pure ability and what they offer, Callum Wilson, when fit, you'd probably rather have him tied down than Sean Longstaff, but because Sean Longstaff's an academy player, he brings PSR benefits, he's still reasonably young, he's not the wrong side of 30, and Callum Wilson, given his age, it's almost like Eddie Howe was talking about, it's important we tie all these players down and avoid losing anyone for free. That's almost a last resort, but I think it would be almost not silly, but I think Newcastle maybe missed a trick not selling Callum Wilson and cashing in while they could. Potentially the back end of the January transfer window, or even in the summer before he got injured. So I think handing Callum Wilson a new contract now is going to be a tough decision for Newcastle United. Whereas I think Sean Longstaff's more of a no-brainer, as much as people might not want to hear it. In a PSR world where academy players are like gold dust and selling them, having Sean Longstaff tied down and having value attached to him is going to be so important for Newcastle, whether you sell him or keep him.
I don't like the criticism around Sean Longstaff. I think he's a scapegoat among the fan base. I really do. Yeah. I think the
reaction to a story which was probably a bit of an aggregated story about Newcastle want to tie down pretty much most players who avoid losing most players for free unless, like maybe Callum Wilson, Kieran Trippier, age is possibly against them. They don't want to lose anyone in that regard. So, yeah, story about Sean Longstaff. Newcastle want to sign him down to a new deal. The case could probably be made. You could write a story about that almost of any Newcastle player. They want to tie down to a new contract. Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon, a few other players as well. Fabian Schär.
Dan Burn.
Dan Burn, of course.
He
signs contracts all the time.
He does. Just doesn't extend his stay.
Yeah, that's an inside joke because we had a story about, or you had a story about Dan Burn signing a new contract. It never got announced until about 6 months later, because it wasn't an extension.
Yeah, it was.
It's like Newcastle waiting for a slow news day to announce some positive news.
It was leaked before that, but we'll not go on. No. But I had the story before that.
That confirmed your story.
Yes, but it never officially got announced by the club until
way later.
It was much, and I think in many ways it was just the renewed terms, not a contract extension. Maybe there's an option in there, but it was pretty much just firming up the contract to reflect Dan Burn's status within the team, given leadership group, etc. A big character behind the scenes, but. Yeah. Anyway, on
back on the Sean Longstaff stuff.
Yeah. I don't like it. I think scapegoat in my opinion. Look, I think there probably is a quality. Sean Longstaff probably does lack quality in terms of if you compare other midfielders, and you've got Bruno, Joe Linton, Tonali, Joe Willock, all in there. I think if you compare to those players, and Sean Longstaff probably lacks their ability or lacks what they give, but what Sean Longstaff does give you that they don't is just a relentless energy among the 90-minute Saudi players. There was a case in the season when they finished fourth, when Newcastle were a worse team without Sean Longstaff. When it was the Aston Villa game, he came out the team. I think he was injured. They went and got beat 3-0 at Aston Villa.
Yeah, even last year.
And it was even when they actually made Sean Longstaff play for injury, which seems to be a regular thing with Sean Longstaff. He came back for that Leicester City game on the Monday night to get him over the line, and then missed a Chelsea game on the final day of the season because he was still injured. And that's another thing why I really respect Sean Longstaff, is because he has played through the pain barrier, and whilst other players have been rested and given time out the team, Sean Longstaff has always been that man that is always there. Always plays. If there's 2 games in a week, you can bet Sean Longstaff starts both. We made a joke in Japan or somewhere. It was a Sella Cup weekend that Sean Longstaff would play both games. Yeah. It's because he's proven to be sort of that dependable figure that Eddie Howe goes to. And look, if you're asking for my best start 11, Sean Longstaff isn't in it. It isn't. And at the midfield 3, when you've got like Tonali there, you paid big money for. Bruno, Joe Linton, who's on big money, having signed a new contract. There's players I would put ahead of Sean Longstaff, but in terms of having him in the squad, I think he brings a lot. And
good squad player.
And then just because out of contract, just to go, no, I will let him go because he's not good enough. No, it's he's got a place in this team. He's a local lad. He feels it. I've got a lot of respect for him. So, in the PSR value, which you can speak more about, is what when it's a time of pure profit. Newcastle need to be good sellers to be able to spend money, as the seen with Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minta in the summer. Why would you gift a potentially £15 million player away for nothing?
Exactly.
When it's pure profit in terms of PSR.
It'd be utterly reckless not to hand Sean Longstaff a new contract from a business perspective. And a club perspective. I think as a squad player, he serves a purpose. I think you're right. Is he going to come in? Is he the player to take Newcastle forward? Probably not. It's you look at your Brunos, your Sandro Tonali, but I think he serves a place in the squad. And if you roll the clock back 12 months before his injury, and and look at that the PSG games and how he started the season. He was one of Newcastle's most important players. And put Sandro Tonali back out of the team. So I think Sean Longstaff he's lived the dream as well. He's scored in the Champions League. He started at the San Siro, scored against PSG, scored some important goals for Newcastle last season, had his best scoring season, and I think more respect probably needs to be put on his name, although he is a limited player. But I think people go, local lad, academy player. There's probably a lot of criticism of the academy historically not being able to produce good enough players, but I think Sean Longstaff's proven himself as being one of, if not the best academy product of the last, certainly since Andy Carroll.
In terms of longevity in the team, you can't argue with.
And he's offered a lot more than probably Andy Carroll did, because his time was fleeting. Is my argument there, and then he had his injury issues after that. I think Sean Longstaff, tying him down to a new deal is a necessity for Newcastle, even if you were to sell him in the future, just because PSR argument as well. And I think Sean Longstaff offers things to Newcastle. He has shortcomings to his game, but that energy, that endeavour, the sort of fitness qualities he brings are important, and I think he serves a role in this starting 11, even if he's ever called upon.
I think the criticism really gets him, and I think that's where you see his performances dip, because there was points last season. There was a game, I think he just missed a sitter. That might be in the West Ham game actually, when he missed a sitter and he ran back the halfway line. Some fan was giving him jip, and he came over and he was having a barney with a fan next to the dugout. You can see that the criticism doesn't get to him, and I think he's one of them that is a confidence player. He feels it more, which he openly admitted actually in Japan.
I was going to say on that, but I think the sort of mental side of his game.
He knows that every person in that ground wants to see Sandro Tonali start him, and it's tough. It is a tough thing.
It's tough, and you can go back on a Geordie Journos episode where Sean Longstaff makes a cameo, and he tells Liam, "You're not calling me out again, or you're not criticising me having a go again, or you," and that sort of shows where his headspace is. He feels like he's really under pressure. And I asked him in Japan. I was just speaking to him in Tokyo. I said, what did I ask? I said, being a Geordie, or do you feel that criticism more? Do you take it to heart a bit more? And he actually awkwardly laughed. So he was probably, what I gauged from that, he was perhaps holding his tongue slightly. He probably couldn't quite say what he wanted to, and he went, I think Dan Burn, Miggy Almiron. I went, the local lads, and he went, me, Dan Burn, Miggy Almiron. I'm not sure Miggy Almiron understands what half the fans are saying.
That's an understanding of the three players I've probably got the most criticism
those are the scapegoats. But definitely. And he said, we take it more than others, and perhaps our scapegoats at times, but almost you just have to get on with it, and I hope Sean Longstaff is getting on with it. I think you can listen to noise on Twitter too much and social media, and you probably have to appreciate, some fans do think that way, but there's a lot of fans, and ultimately every Newcastle fan wants to see Sean Longstaff do well and performing well for Newcastle United. It's just some fans tend to be quite reactive to when that perhaps doesn't happen, and you saw against Wolves last weekend where his pass does give the ball away and everyone's straight on Sean Longstaff, even though there was about 5 players making errors in the build-up to that goal. Sean Longstaff was perhaps one of them. He gave the ball away initially, but there was so many other players you could pick out in that goal. So I think Sean Longstaff, bit more credit on his name, please. Get him signed down to a new deal. People might not like to hear it, but even if you were to sell Sean Longstaff in the future, it just makes business sense.
Absolutely. Can't argue that. I'm looking at my notepad here down here because I'm trying to think of talking points. Subject of midfield, as Lewis Miley, we should say, is still a long way off. Eddie Howe described. He told me last week that he was on course for the 3-month initial time frame, which would be next month. But then if he's still a long way off, does that mean that he's back next month? I don't know. A month still is a long time, to be honest. So we'll wait and see on that one. Talk about contracts. Where do you want to go, Dom? Mid strikers. Obviously, Gordon will probably start.
Yes,
but he did praise Willis Sula.
He said he's progressed really well. He's done done a really good job, even though he hasn't played a minute of football. He's adapting. There's certain parts of his game Newcastle are trying to almost train out of him. So I think Willisula this season will possibly be a little bit like Lewis Hall last season, where it was maybe he's not quite ready for first team football during the first half of the season. We'll train him, we'll get certain things into him. I think the Wimbledon game, like you said yesterday,
It should be. Really.
it has to be the first time we'll see Willisula, if not Saturday at Craven Cottage.
And then the other one on another dilemma, if you like, on Saturday, the midfield's the biggest one. Eddie Howe said it was he's never had better options in that area. I mean,
almost everyone's fit. It's Louis Minor.
Link back to the previous video if you want to see what midfield three we want to see, then do check that out. I'm not going to tell you on here because I want you to go and check the other video if you haven't watched that already. But yeah, there's a few selection dilemmas at the weekend, shall we say. Even the full backs as well. You then got the midfield. I see the striking position's a dilemma. Probably isn't. It probably will be Anthony Gordon. With Willisula, you'd expect to play in that Wimbledon game, but there's no guarantees over that. But yeah, Newcastle United have the opportunity to go top of the league on Saturday if they win at Fulham, with Arsenal and Man City playing each other.
Eddie Howe was asked, "Can you stay there?"
Yeah, he was. Which
he didn't bite on, of course.
Yeah, he smirked at that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
5 games into the season, being asked if he can compete for the Premier League title. Who knows?
I mean,
they might compete for the Premier League title.
Don't know. You don't know what's happening with Man City, and then all of a sudden. No, I think we're getting far too ahead of ourselves. Given Newcastle actually just need to play well first.
Yes, yeah, that's another big thing, isn't it? And Eddie Howe naturally wants to see improvements, because it feels like it's positive that they are winning by not playing very well, but it almost feels they're at a point where if they don't improve their performances, then those wins won't continue to come, because, as I've said, they're sort of relying on moments at this present moments in
individual
games,
class,
rather than like a sustained period of pressure. They're relying on moments of class, like a Fabian Schär deflected goal, Harvey Barnes, Joe Linton's spin against James Maddison, plenty of other things. Well, Harvey Barnes at Bournemouth as well, and he put the ball in for Anthony Gordon. So there's moments in games where there isn't sustained pressure, so they'll need to be better on Saturday. But shall we briefly touch on the off-field?
Yeah, I mean, I know you've done a video saying you're sick about talking about it. We're probably sick about writing about it.
People are definitely, who watch this channel, are definitely sick about hearing about it.
And that's fine. But people will see articles, maybe not from ourselves, but there'll be articles about this talking point. And I think probably Newcastle Eddie Howe are probably sick about talking about it. You could tell from Eddie Howe today, because he went, "I'm not going to go there." And he was asked, have you spoke to Paul Mitchell? And he went, "I've spoke to club directors and things like that." And then lately, is Paul Mitchell a club director? Won't get into all that, but Eddie Howe just wasn't biting, and stories will come out about that relationship. But it just, Newcastle could go top of the Premier League. That's what matters. Results on the pitch are what matter.
As long as results continue, the behind the scenes tension or whatever you want to call it, the dynamic will not be at the forefront. People's minds.
There's no need to obsess over whether Eddie Howe has spoken in any sort of depth to a person responsible for transfers outside of a transfer window, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the sporting director and head coach got to work closely.
They do
together.
But
I get the point. Yeah, Paul Mitchell is very much in charge, or leads, supports, as he said, recruitment.
I think it's moved past it. It's old news. I
think it only becomes an issue again if the performances dip and then it gets to January and everyone's like, it's rumbling on in the background and will continue to rumble, but it is not the story. No, not for me. No, I agree with that. The stories are Callum Wilson.
It's always Isak. It's Fulham as well. I mean, you'll probably notice whenever you watch a press conference, very little gets asked about the upcoming game. Because
I know, Eddie Howe's never pre-match, pre-Fulham.
Because well, you called it like last night when Liam was talking about, well, what's he going to say about Alexander Isak, and you went, a late call will be made. That's exactly what Eddie Howe said. You just know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Every game in the Premier League's tough. Fulham, good side. Marco Silva's got them playing well. We're like visiting Craven Cottage. They've actually got a really good record at Craven Cottage. I think 5 wins in a row now,
that's
having
incredible.
previously had a terrible one. So that's probably a reason why. It's more of a broadcaster question. Fulham, you're looking forward to it at the weekend. Yeah, my questions were about Sean Longstaff, the contract situation. Then I also asked about, because Rodri spoke about Man City midfielder, spoke about Newcastle players potentially going on strike because of the fixture schedule, and obviously Newcastle play Man City in a week's time. So I just asked Eddie Howe's thoughts on that, given a hectic fixture schedule pretty much derailed Newcastle's season for the most part last season, particularly in that December time, and he sort of didn't completely bite. He said player welfare is obviously really important, especially when you look at the international players who've had a full Euros. I think Rodri's probably in that boat where he's had a full European Championship. He's returned to Man City. He's then playing on a Tuesday night, a Sunday, Tuesday night, Saturday. It's like it's busy, it's hectic. But then Eddie Howe also alluded to these players are compensated quite a bit for it. They're paid huge sums of money, and they are well looked after. Certainly, I mean, we don't have to run around 90 minutes, but certainly better looked after than us. They'll fly there. We're driving down to Fulham. We're doing it on the day. Not expecting you to sympathise with us. I've made a U-turn. I've made Rodri strike about me. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. So you do sympathise with the players in a way, but I think Eddie Howe was right in alluding to, look, they're in control. Like the sponsors and the TV rights, they have so much power in football these days, and the players are still looked after to a regard. But yeah, player welfare should be of the paramount importance.
It's the authorities that's really, it's not the players that I don't really feel for the players in this situation. Or do I? I don't know.
You were. You don't like doing a press conference after playing 5-a-side, making it about us. You were like, oh, I can't believe we're here today. After 5-a-side.
The thing I don't like is it's such a money it's draining
profit.
Everything out of the game. You're draining players. Look, they paid good money,
and the product wins as well. Eddie Howe was quite corporate in the way he said the players are the product at the end of the day. That's quite a corporate term, where they produce a product, and if they're feeling fatigued, if they're feeling unsatisfied with it, then the product's going to diminish. It's about quality over quantity, and at the moment, you see the Champions League, the way that it's ridiculous.
The Champions League, 8 games. There's some absolute crap in there as well, by the way. Like Villa playing Club Brugge, like Newcastle would have killed for a game like that. I'm not saying they're going to won, but sorry, not Club Brugge, Young Boys.
I think they play Club Brugge as well, though. And you've seen some of the teams playing each other.
It's a European. Not glorified, but it's because the European Super League didn't get pushed through. It's almost like they've just made this or changed the format to please the big teams that are threatening to leave the Premier League and whatever and form this big Super League. It's a load of crap.
I think as well.
It's a load of crap. Even the FA Cup replays were scrapped this. They were scrapped in the summer. And then the National League are announcing a National League Cup with Premier League 2 teams. So you've scrapped FA Cup replays for, and I'm not going to use the word I described it on Twitter. I swore on Twitter this.
Did you?
But it's a load of crap. Honestly, it's money making exercises.
It's a load of beep.
You're draining a lot out of not just footballers, but fans are going to pay to watch this as well. Pay to watch the extra games. It's just a big cycle I really don't like. It's Premier League, UEFA, FA, whatever. It's all just money making, and it's frustrating because you've got fans there who look for the big fans
through sheer loyalty.
You're taking the mickey out of loyal fans. Football has become too expensive for many people, and that's really sad.
Even non-league, where you and me, I say grew up on, but certainly got our teeth into. It's getting silly as well.
It is, because non-league clubs are.
The financial side of things is so much more important to these clubs to survive.
Gate receipts are like non-league clubs die off, live and die off gate receipts. So I understand it to some extent in terms of there, but do you have to charge 50 quid? I mean, it all goes back to PSR, by the way. If I'm going to go on a proper rant here, clubs feel like they have to do that. because of PSR and they've got to build. Yeah,
Squeeze everything.
It's honestly, yeah. I don't have
I'm
enough
going to
time.
the stack later. I'm doing my bit for PSR.
No, yeah.
Aye, I'll see you. See you there if anyone's coming.
You'll get a load of Geordie Journals fans come to see our fans.
Get a few pints, get some food. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll get us a player in January. That's my part.
I
I think we're doing our part in the media room as well. They've cut back on the. Actually, I'll have to cut this in probably. I was just going to say the chickens become pies, hasn't it?
No, that's fine, man. That's fine. No, we're like a Dixon's pie, man. Don't worry about that. Anyway,
we've got to watch ourselves, man.
Well, you don't. I do.
I do. I was playing last night. I was blowing.
You're alright, man. You just enjoyed your holidays, not man.
Aye, that's what it was.
Didn't get like me. Cut it while you can.
Greek all English. Got it while you can.
Yeah. That's just
got it while you can. Like you're 10 years older than me.
I feel it. I'll probably look at it as well.
No.
Right, so we've always get the point of the video. We'll start waffling. I think we've hit that point where we need to.
We'll see you at Fulham.
Yes.
With Liam.
Yes.
Driving down on the day, as I alluded to.
Don't get too drunk tonight because you've got an early start tomorrow.
Okay.
Don't do that. We need you ready.
Thank you, I needed that. I need people to come see me and stop me.
Yes. Make sure if you see Dom tonight, he's on the water.
Yeah, I will.
Or a lemonade.
It's going to be like a 6 AM start, isn't it?
Yes.
If not earlier.
Yes, very early start. So.
Done it before. I'll just stay up.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
The energy of...
Sleep on the back seat. It's about time you sat in the back, actually. I was sitting in the back.
Aye.
But I like it.
About time I drove.
Yeah.
About time any of us drove.
Right. Fulham tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah.
And we've still got that exciting announcement we alluded to.
Yes.
It won't happen after the Fulham game. It might not even happen after our next press conference video, but it'll definitely happen before Wimbledon, before the trip to Wimbledon. So, exciting announcement to come. Check out our upcoming videos for that. I'm really excited about it. It's a good one. So yeah, we'll have that to come. We'll have Fulham to come. We'll be joined by Liam, of course, as ever. And yeah, so if you like what we do, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell. There's the thanks button as well for all your Geordie Journals content if you like what we do. And of course, every Geordie Journals video long form is sponsored by Four Rivers Financial Planning for all of your holistic financial and pension needs. So check them out, link in the description as well. We'll see you tomorrow at Craven Cottage. Cheers.